Live.
I better sing on the show. I could get us.
I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4. They do the Ramones opening, but
yeah, I don't want to get us demonetized. Sorry. So
God damn it. Yeah,
the
folks.
first.
Hello.
I was gonna say the first video I ever did online got completely taken down because I sang a song in there and I learned my lesson 10 years ago or whatever. So
oh no,
yeah, I sang a song.
You sang it too well. There's the
I did.
problem.
I sang After Midnight by Judas Priest, and then it was immediately I got this notice. Your video has been taken down because of copyrighted information, copyrighted material. I was like, oh.
Now you just get demonetized. Your video stays up, but you can make no money from it. By the way, I'm going to do a video over the next couple of days because I've been accused of putting up videos for the views and dollars.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I'm going to show them in detail how many dollars this channel
How
makes.
dare you, sir? All that money, all those champagne bottles flowing with champagne.
Yes, we don't do it for the money, God damn it.
Yeah, you do.
No, we do it for the aggravation.
You just monetize yourself by cursing. I didn't even curse this time. That's all.
I said, God damn it. I didn't say the F-bomb. Right. You can't say the F-bomb within the first 30 seconds, but we're a minute and a half in. So
okay. I'll allow it. I will allow it.
You can let it. It's not like when I was podcasting with Glenn, and Glenn would be like, oh, Eric dropped another F-bomb. I got to take it out. Like, Glenn, leave it in. Can't leave it in.
By the way, Glenn, thank you. I got Glenn's care package this week, which is a bunch of Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes movies because he got the Blu-ray. For some reason, now when he gets the Blu-rays, he sends me the old ones, which I'm fine with because I'll watch that old stuff. He knows I'll watch that old stuff. So thanks so much, Glenn. If you haven't watched this, I will start hitting those Basil Rathbone. So when I was a kid, the Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes would come on every Saturday night, along with Charlie Chan. The Charlie Chan ones would too. And so I watched those when I was a kid. I probably haven't seen them in 40 years, so I'm interested in watching those again. Thank you, Glenn, for updating your video library and giving me the leftovers.
There you go. So before we delve into the non-topics, we actually do have a topic. Oh, by the way, we were going to have a guest for today. Our guest will be for next week. Our guest wasn't feeling 100%, and your health comes first.
Yeah, but Bunny Daniels and her partner Zane were going to be on to talk about their. I keep wanting to say Kickstarter, but it's not a Kickstarter; it's a backer kit.
Their crowdfunding project.
And it's a Shadow Dark, which Eric and I love Shadow Dark. It's called A Natural Selection. It is their first one ever. It's at $76,000, so it is very successful. They have 2 weeks left. I'm predicting it may hit 100,000. They're really fun. I've seen them in a few videos, and I've actually talked to Bunny quite a bit offline. She is absolutely adorable. Really, just a fun person, funny, and they both love gaming. They're just both. Her and Zane are both just like kind of people we like to have on the show, very up and, positive, kind of like Kelsey, basically. That's why we love Kelsey. She's just so positive and so into it. So we're going to talk Shadow Dark. We'll talk Unnatural Selection. We'll talk about why they chose Backer Kit. We'll do all that next week because, as Eric said, if you're not feeling 100%, we want your best game here, man.
Yeah.
We want your best game. We don't want 50% or 75%. We want 100%. And so, yes, if you're under the weather, then we're not going to make you go on here and promote your stuff.
No, come on.
And get insulted by us or whatever we do to you, whatever.
No, we would never insult.
Well, no, apparently we talk shit about people, and that gets it's really bad. I mean, I don't know why we do that, but apparently we do that. So we're not very nice people. So.
We don't talk shit about people. We get preemptively blocked by a handful. It's like, oh, they're going to talk shit about me. I better block them. I think that's fine.
It amazes me that what some people think talking shit is what we just call criticism or just discussion.
Observation.
Yeah. You could say that Siskel and Ebert talked shit about every movie they gave thumbs down to. Well, that's not always the case. Sometimes they're just doing critical analysis of the movie. They didn't like it, so.
It was a bad Chicago pizza of a movie, damn it. Bad.
50% is all you can manage. Well, I know it's a tough one. I'm a back. So we got through moving the warehouse, all done. Went to ReaperCon this week. Had a great time. ReaperCon with Zach and Jen and assorted hangers on. I got to see a lot of my friends there. And I'm sitting here now this week. My knees hurt, ankles, feet are kind of sore. Knees definitely are messed up from all the walking at ReaperCon. And so got to talk. By the way, I got some stories from ReaperCon when we get down to it. I got ReaperCon pails, so let me know when I can talk about that. There's some cool ReaperCon stuff.
Well, hey, I'm gonna just jump in because you mentioned your knees are hurting and shit. Well, I've got a bad right knee. I've had it for, I don't know, decades. It used to only act up with the weather. It's gotten to the point where it acts up now more than just the weather. So it's like, it's time to get a cane. But if I'm going to get a cane, it's going to look effing awesome. So this is it's available on Amazon. If you want, PM me. I'll give you a link. I'm not selling the cane, but it's a nice solid cane. And little known fact about canes, just to throw this out there. It's basically a self-defense item that you can carry anywhere.
I love this story. Yes, you cannot be denied a cane, can you?
You cannot. The American, at least not in the States, the American Disabilities Act, or Americans with Disabilities Act, allows you to carry a cane at the airport, on a plane, in a courthouse, in a federal building. So if I'm going to require a cane on occasions, and I'll be honest with you, when I walk the dog in the Poconos, we've got a bear up there. I'm not saying I want something I can.
Okay, yeah, I can see. Yeah, you're going to take that bear down with that cane.
Oh no! I'm just going to keep the bear at arm's length, as or bang it on the ground to make noise. But you want something that I'd rather have the bear biting my cane and swatting my cane than swatting me, because
you know what that bear is going to do to you.
Hey,
you over here.
No, it's a black bear, Michael. It's not a grizzly. But I had a neighbor that actually he got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, went out to go to work, and he sees the bear on his porch going through his garbage.
Oh, that's always worrisome.
Yeah, it's like But in any case, no, I was like, it came with like $90, but I swear to God.
Now you can't get a sword. Now, if you make it a sword cane, that's
sword cane, folks. No sword.
How about a shotgun cane or a Derringer?
No Derringer canes.
Dang it. Okay, well, those are my two ideas. I had two good ideas, and they both didn't work, I guess.
No. So I'm so sorry. So you can't do that.
No sword cane, no gun canes. Damn.
No. But I mean, I do love that. I was like, they had a Norse Viking head that looked vaguely dwarfish, but it also looked like psychotic because it was just this head screaming out. I was like, yeah, no, I'll go with the dragon. It's more me. So
now, do you actually need this to walk, or your knees really bothering you? Or what's
my right knee? Like, I can predict weather with my right knee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much the walking as it is stairs. If I have stairs in my future, I often will need assistance. Like Rach says, my knee now acts up even without the weather, just not as bad. So my orthopedist had offered to. Last time I saw him, I'll be seeing him again in like 2 months. He's like, "Do you want a shot for the knee?" I was like,
"It'll work. It just doesn't last though. The shots for the knee, yeah."
So but I'm going to probably get the shot next time, because there's nothing when that knee acts up, man. It is hard. So I'd rather have this around and available for use.
I may get one. I've got my knee saga. My right knee. Last Christmas, I bent down and heard it pop, and I have not been able to get an MRI since then due to there was an X-ray. The X-ray said, yeah, there's something going on down there. We saw some issues. You need an MRI. The MRI scheduling has been atrocious. It's been all year long. It's been awful for my insurance. I blame them totally, and I'm hoping to get it by the end of the year so I can see if I need an operation or not, because my knee hurts. It's never healed up. I thought, well, I'll just stay off it for a few months, and then it just never healed up. So I've got my own knee saga. I guess that's just part of getting old, is you get knee replacements, hip replacements, whatever. You get that crap.
All right. Well, then, if this would classify as a deadly weapon in Indonesia because of that pointed metal
yeah, there you go.
I'll have to order an actual fighting cane, which has no metal on it whatsoever. It's made out of like oak or or hickory. Maybe I
Oh.
want hickory. Old hickory.
Hey, how about if you unscrew the top and there's like, oh no, there's booze in there. You can put booze in
Oh, now see, I like
there.
that.
Like little, like little containers. I think I saw it in a show once where a guy unscrewed his top and he's got these little thin metal containers and they've all got like booze in it, so he can sneak in booze where booze isn't supposed to go. You can do all kinds of stuff with that thing, man. That thing's gonna be awesome. You can do all kinds of stuff with that.
No, right. You can have a no gun in your peg leg, just the peg leg.
I know. I already thought about that. Yeah.
And Dave has been in the queue over in the UK for eye surgery for 4 years.
Yeah, but you're in the UK where it's free, but you have to wait in line. I'm in the United States where they're supposed to do it if you have freaking insurance. They're supposed to get it done, but
you need double secret authorization, Mike.
It's just been a series of mix-ups, and it's just been atrocious the way it's been. And honestly, most of the time I don't have a problem with my insurance, but this one occasion has been really, really dropped the ball because I think what's going to happen is going to annoy me when I finally go into October. They say, "Oh yeah, you need an operation." Well, it's the end of the year. I got stuff going. I'm supposed to go to game home, long con. I got things going on. I don't have time to get my knee operated on, but if it has to happen, it has to happen. But by the way, speaking of health issues, a shout out to our buddy Skeeter. He had to go to the hospital last week.
Oh, did I didn't know.
Kidney stones. Yeah, and it got stuck. It got stuck, man. It wouldn't come out. So I have not talked to him today. This was a few days ago, and so I don't know what's going on. Hopefully it's been dealt with and it's been passed by now, but kidney stones are not pleasant.
No, I've been actually told my nephrologist, I started seeing a nephrologist because I'm a diabetic, so that goes along with it when you have heart failure. They did a sono of my kidneys, and then aside from a few old cysts, apparently I have a small kidney stone, but not a serious one. So
you can deal with that. You can either There's medication you can take to make it pass or to make it break up.
Oh yeah,
I take a medication. I've taken it.
There's different stuff. You can even apple cider vinegar helps break it down if it's small enough. So
I had one once and it was excruciating. Absolutely excruciating.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
I've had two.
Yeah, that was bad.
I had one. I didn't even know what it was because it was so small. I just knew I had trouble urinting. But the second one woke me up in the middle of the night. I thought I was going to die. And before I could call an ambulance, the pain subsided. So I realized I wasn't dying. So I didn't need an ambulance. And then the peeing became an issue. But when it finally
that's when you get the catheter out. That's always fun. Yeah.
Oh well, no, it actually made a plunk when it came out. I was like,
I had to have a catheter. I mean, I was stopped up and it hurt so bad. Then once they put the catheter in, boom, it was going. And
there you go.
So just to let you know, there was a survey done once of women because women can have kidney stones too. Women that have given birth and had a kidney stone said which one is the worst, and unanimously kidney stone.
Wow.
I think a lot of it's because you get drugged up for the birth a lot of times. Now, some don't give natural childbirth, but some of those kidney stones are awful. But yes, women who gave childbirth considered it worse than childbirth. They thought the kidney stone was more painful, and I'm going to tell you, it was the worst pain I've probably felt in my life. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I've had worse pain, but it was top 5. Top 5. Why? This is more like a gamer's health discussion.
Yeah. What are we doing here? This is a Saturday night show. We're doing a Saturday night show on Wednesday, which
I don't know why. Oh well, actually, Saturday night we're gonna have a special guest. Somebody from David's neck of the woods, published author from the UK who.
Nice.
Yeah, he does. He wrote a book on using RPGs for therapy sessions and for use in the therapy environment.
People are getting into that. That's really that used to be a psychiatrist thing, but now it's getting more and more recognition. I'm catching up on comments here. These are pretty funny. Yes, B 2.5 is a great module. It's very good. All the basic experts are really good. One only kidney stone. Oh, I can't even talk about it anymore. It hurts me. Story scene is passing.
Oh God, I saw that.
I remember that. Yeah, that's pretty much how pre-medicine. Boy, you're just screwed. Yeah, drink more water. That's all we can say. Just drink a lot of water. A lot of water.
My God.
So, all right. So, what are we talking about first here? I got two things here.
All right. Hold on.
Except for the 800-pound gorilla. Well, we got the 800-pound gorilla, and then I got two things.
Right. All right. Do we want to do the dice breaker?
Yeah, let's do that. That's really interesting. So I found this article today in Dicebreaker. Basically, it was a survey. They did a survey of tabletop gamers. The company's called Merchhole, which basically does, I guess they do. That's what they do. They do surveys. They did almost 1,500 basically entertainment fans, what they call it. So it's 1,479. They found out that 37% of them are gaming more now than they did before the lockdown, which I think makes sense. I see a lot of people that are gaming now. But here's the interesting things about the comment. 76% of them believe that in-person interaction was essential to their enjoyment.
So not virtual.
Yeah, so WotC has to read that, and they die a little bit inside, because what they're trying to do is 5E.35, or whatever it's called, 0.6, whatever, I don't know. It's going to lean heavily into online. And these entertainment fans are saying, nope, we like in person. That's why we go to conventions. They also said that the Dungeons & Dragons play has increased 85% since 2020. So they're playing 5e. So here's the deal. They're playing 5e D&D, and they want in-person interaction. How are they going to like? How are they going to like the new online stand that WotC's making?
But not only that. So what we're saying is the most popular RPG is 85% more popular than it was 3 years ago.
Yep, which is incredible, because it was already super unpopular. So that's nuts.
And now we're going to reboot it, which is why, admittedly, they're saying it's not a new edition. It's not a new edition.
We did nothing new. When they invited all those streamers up there to Seattle this year, they're asking. It's just tweaks, man. We're just tweaking. Here. Well, I don't know if they said they were tweaking, but we're just tweaking here. This isn't going to, because they're trying to walk down the middle, the white line, like the cop has you do at 3 a.m. after you had 6 beers. They're trying to make you walk that line, because they're saying, oh, no, we're not going to change everything, but it's going to be a new game.
Right.
But it's going to be new, but we're not changing anything. We're changing little stuff. We're, little things here and there.
We're going to make a few tweaks, but don't worry, it's all compatible with your old stuff, except for the core rule books. Those aren't compatible, but everything else will be compatible. You won't notice the difference. Don't look at D&D Beyond too closely.
I would say,
don't stress yourself.
Now, anecdotal evidence, I absolutely agree with this study. I think that attendance at cons has been through the roof. I mean, we had record attendance in North Texas this year. I just think interest is very, very high. Somebody pointed out to me there's a couple of cons this year that haven't done that well, but I think there's reasons for both those ones they gave as examples. Gen Con had record attendance, 70,000. Gary Con was full. I mean, all these cons that I know of and that I usually attend, Gamehole Con, for what I've talked to Alex, they're going to have record attendance this year. They've already sold more pre-sale tickets than ever. So I think this is true. I think that people are playing role-playing games like D&D, and they're playing it in huge numbers. But like I said, my takeaway was the part where they said, hey, we like to play these games in person. It's awesome. Because, you go to a convention, you don't bring your laptop. So you can all sit around a table on a laptop and look at a laptop while you're playing the game. Yes, maybe a game might call for that. But, that's not why you go to the convention. You go to the convention to have good old-fashioned interaction, face-to-face, roll the dice on the table, move the little minis around. That's what you go to the conventions for.
Now, Elle is saying 2020 was lockdowns. Yes, it was.
Yes.
But 2020 also saw a huge increase in online gaming.
Right.
That, I mean, was knocking it out of the park to the point where...
Because nobody could go anywhere, though. You were prisoners. You were being...
There were brand new gamers coming to D&D because of COVID.
That was a special circumstance. That is not everyday life and living. That was a very special circumstance that happened for basically a year. And I don't know if WotC looked at that and said, hey, this online gaming stuff is awesome. Yeah, well, it was when everybody was trapped in their house and couldn't go anywhere.
Right, but I don't think that gaming, the number of D&D players decreased because of COVID. I think most of the ones that were playing at home or in their game store transitioned to a VTT, and then once they could go back to playing in person, they went back to playing in person.
Yep, absolutely. And then hopefully, and what this survey sounds like, they dragged a few people with them that maybe hadn't played before, that played online. They said, hey, well, we're not going to play online anymore. No. COVID's over. We're not going to play online anymore. Hey, come join our game. We play in person. Oh, you play this in person? Oh, okay. And I think that's what happened. I think a lot of those people got out of their comfort zone and said, well, yeah, I'll play in person. That sounds cool. This is really fun. I just think it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the upshot or the downshot is of this, but I just think it's really interesting that they said, I mean, Watson, believe me, Watson would have liked it the other direction. Watson would have loved it if 24% said that, yeah, we like playing online, and 76% said, no, I'm sorry, 24% said we'd like to play in person. Because then they'd be going, yes, 76 people love to play online. We got this awesome online game code next year. This is going to be great. So this can't be the best thing they've ever heard hearing this.
No. So I'm saying here in the article, Gen Con saw its largest ever attendance with over 70,000 people.
Crazy.
And they're staying in Indy for another until the end of the decade.
Yeah, they signed did they sign a contract right after or right before? I can't remember. They signed the contract pretty quick. So Indy is very interested in having them there at this point because they are I've heard, so I don't think this is that controversial, but they're the biggest draw that city has during the year, including Colts games. They don't get, because, and you got to think about it, a Colts game is a 1 day total, right?
Right.
Everybody comes in town, watch the game. Yes, maybe some stay overnight, maybe some stay the night before, but it's nothing like a 4 day deal like Gen Con is. So while Colts games are great, hey, it's great we have the Colts here, that doesn't even begin to touch the numbers for Gen Con. In terms of people going to restaurants, shopping in the town, basically bringing money to the town.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Now, they also talk about an increase in, like, miniature war games. Like, playing Warhammer during the pandemic, you went from playing Warhammer to painting miniatures. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people end up doing as at-home hobbies. I'm sure there's a lot of solo RPGing going on, a lot of computer gaming. But Games Workshop has seen an over 50% increase in revenue since 2020. So everything's on an upswing now. As Elle mentioned, not to get too political about it, but there are rumors, if you watch social media and listen to videos, that we're going to be looking at a new wave of lockdowns or mask mandates for the fall. We shall see.
Very conspiracy theory. Look, let's not even talk about that. That's too political. We'll see what happens. But I'll be honest with you. This is just my personal opinion. Absolutely, I don't think people are going to stand for it again. I think they did it once because they realized. Look at the numbers. COVID infections are down 75% from last year. So they're 1/4 of what they were last year. The new I just saw an article. I read it just today. The new strain of COVID is not bad. They've already said that. Yeah, it's not that bad. Matter of fact, they're saying, yeah, if you're over 65, get a shot. But honestly, if you don't have a shot, you're probably fine. So they're saying the people that other people say want to lock you up are saying it's not that bad a deal. If it was the opposite, they'd be saying, this new strain, oh my, it's gonna get you. It's gonna get you. You guys, so I don't think they're gonna be able to do that again. I just don't, and I don't think COVID's gonna be that. Obviously the new strain is not that bad. So.
Right. I mean, I know there are some colleges that are instituting mask mandates, and I know. By the way, Dave Simpson, if you're watching, man, don't start having palpitations.
Why do you have to bring him up? I forgot about that idiot.
All right. I am. They think the studies have shown that masks work under the perfect environment, but seeing how my parents, especially my father, wore the mask like a chin diaper.
Did he wear it underneath his nose? Underneath his nose.
Under his nose.
That's not helping.
Or people, my mother wore the same mask 3 weeks in a row, isn't stopping anything. Okay, now if you're in a hospital environment wearing an N95 or
Yeah,
two,
if you're wearing N95 properly, sure. Yeah, that's exactly what it's considered. The problem is you're not wearing N95, you're wearing something grandma sewed, out of an old sneaker bag, and yeah, you're wearing it across your mouth, and they've already done tests of those. The efficiency is something like less than 10%. It's like seven. Well, exactly it was said is 17%. It's about 17%.
But Michael, you put your mask on, you get a little schmutz. You get schmutz on your mask.
I wouldn't mind that.
And then your mask is contaminated.
I was at ReaperCon and some dude was coughing near me. I wanted him to have a mask. I'm like, you need to be wearing a mask. I'm thinking,
if you got contact,
wear a mask because the guy's knocking his lungs out, over by my table. By the way, so welcome to golly, look at this all-star lineup. Joe Block and Joe George, Luau Lou. Oh, Tom Tullis popped in. Tom Tullis took a break from giving somebody, so yeah, we have an all-star lineup.
What Tom is cooking.
We have all-star lineup of all the good ones here today. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the new COVID too much. It's if they really wanted to keep us inside, they'd be playing up a lot more. I think even if they're trying to, the articles I'm reading, the medical articles are saying, yeah, it ain't that bad. So maybe they want to, there's certain people I think that do get excited about getting us all locked up for whatever reason. They just like it, but I just don't think it's going to work this year. I think people are like, nah, it's not that bad.
I mean, once the the Omicron hit, it was like, all right, so I've had worse flus.
I had and that's what I had. My wife and I had Omicron, which was for about a week we weren't feeling great. But I'm with you, Eric. I've had worse flus. It was not pleasant. I lost my sense of smell and taste, and it's been a year and a half now, and I have gotten it back about 60%. I mean, I still have days when it's weird too, because I'll be eating something fine. Oh man, it tastes great, and then it goes away. My taste will go away. I mean, it's weird. And then my smell is the same way. I'll smell something, really? And it comes and goes, but it's coming back more. So in other words, it's trying back. They found out that's probably a neurological issue that COVID caused. So you can get it back. I mean, I'm getting it back somewhat. It's just not coming back full. But other than that, we just took the pills and did what you're supposed to do. Drank lots of water and all that good stuff. And
all I know is that the mask mandates it fucked up the kids in school.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's terrible.
So many kids that in my niece's circle are like chronic absenteeism because
they learn not to go to school, and then not only that. So I don't know. I can't remember if I've told this story here before. But my daughter is now homeschooling my grandkids because during COVID, and she goes to in Texas they have 5. They have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A schools, and then they have something called 5A super schools, and those are like the big giant. The football powerhouses, basically, where they don't want to break up into 2 schools because they want to win all the football games. So they go to a little 3A district, and my daughter's sitting there one day watching her kids in class online, and what the teacher did was take roll and said, okay, read page 30 or read page 30 through 50 or whatever. That was the teaching during COVID. They weren't actually teaching anything. They were taking roll, and so she got mad, pulled her kids out. Her kids are doing great now, as a matter of fact. But that school district, when they came back from COVID, they had an all hands on deck meeting. Every parent in the district was invited with all their kids. And they announced during the meeting that we just wanted you to know that the kids in this district are testing 1 year below math and 2 years below reading. And we don't know what to do, and we would love your suggestions. They actually asked the parents, what do you think we should do? So those kids lost basically a year and a half to 2 years of their schooling. And they were asking the parents to say, we don't know how to get it back. And so we are asking you to help us, or do you have any idea to help us? And then, like I said, my daughter's like, my kids are fine now. We're doing okay, because she was doing hands-on learning. So it was awful, man. That was the worst, probably one of the worst things that came out of the crisis was the fact that we lost a whole, and not only that. I mean, I think about like Bill Webb's daughter, Jillian. She lost her prom. She lost her graduation. She went to college. There was no college her first year. She was taking I mean, that's the biggest thing cool. When you graduate school, you go to prom, you go to your graduation ceremony, and then you go to college, man. You go to college, it's cool, and you're in this, you get to see all the cool stuff. And a lot of kids never got to experience that. I think it's about, it's first world problems, yes, but it really sucks for those kids.
Well, we will see what the fall brings us.
So by the way, speaking of masks, I was at. I'm going to segue into ReaperCon here because I was at ReaperCon last weekend. It was like my third, or total. It was probably I've been about 7. That was probably my third in a row. I saw maybe about 5 masks there the whole time. It was masking up was not a huge priority at ReaperCon. But yeah, ReaperCon is a great con. They have it in Denton, Texas. It's run by the Reaper Miniatures people. So there's, as you can guess, there's a lot of miniatures there. There's a lot of miniature painting, a lot of lectures on how to paint. A lot of dealers are selling painted figures and stuff. Just a great little con, especially if you're into miniatures. This is the con to go to. There was one interesting thing. I don't even know if you know this, Eric, so I'm going to throw this at you. So there's a lot of really famous painters that go there. I mean, like famous miniature painters. One of them being Angela Emery. Who's in Canada. We're probably going to try to get her as a guest at Nortex next year. Wonderful person. And she's just, the stuff she paints, it absolutely just blows your mind because it's the most detailed and it's just insane. And these people, for the most part, all these professional painters, that's what they do. They just do stuff that it just absolutely blows your mind. You just can't believe that, how good it is. So anyway, they had a huge theft at ReaperCon. The artists set up like an artist alley where they all have a setup where they have all their paintings, they have their light, their little magnifying glass, and then behind them they have a glass case where they bring different stuff to that they've already painted earlier, and they're just showing you, here's some of the stuff I do. Here's some of my prior paintings, and sometimes they'll be contest winners. Hey, here's the one that won ReaperCon contest 2 years ago. This that. So apparently, one night somebody walked along and stole about 20 of the miniatures.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and it was very reminiscent of the Gen Con theft because it seems as if it was spur of the moment, and it was just very bold because that area is never empty. There's always people in there walking around. Now, what had happened is it was probably about 3 a.m. when there's not it's open like 24/7. And there's always people in the main game area, like right over here. But there was probably no artist on that artist row. And they basically stole what you would call the Mona Lisa because you can't sell it. You can't sell the stuff. I mean, if it comes up on eBay, immediately you recognize it. So I don't really know what you do with it. I guess you just keep it and put it in your house and say, you can't tell people you painted it. I mean, I don't really understand what you do with them. I think maybe they stole them thinking they could sell them. But yeah, it was a big deal there because they had never had anything like this at ReaperCon, and that was the first like really big theft they had. And it it really put a damper on the whole weekend because they had never had anything like that happen at the con. So it's kind of like the end of innocence, so to speak. Like, hey, from now on, if you have expensive miniatures, we're gonna have to lock them up. We cannot have them out on display anymore.
Yes, where are the Pinkertons, Peter? Where are the Pinkertons?
And they say there's supposedly video surveillance, and I just think that's the hotel because the hotel has there's signs where it says the hotel is filming everything. Right. But for all I know, that area didn't have a camera there. I don't know. I don't think they filmed themselves. So Gary and I talked about it, and we are going to have video cameras at North Texas next year in the vendor hall. Because this is between this and the Gen Con theft, people have shown they're not shy about stealing stuff, man. And they're going to do it,
Not for nothing. That's just a sign of today's society. Listen, I worked in law enforcement, and I will be the first person to say that, those people that went through our prison and jail systems, they are far from a good system. They need a lot of improvement, but the improvement is not a slap on the wrist and revolving justice, because that means that there is nothing preventing someone from doing these normally spur of the moment shit like that. You'd think, I get caught, what can happen to me? And these two New Yorkers, by the way, for the Gen Con theft.
Oh yeah, there's an update on that too.
They're from New York. They're going, well, it's not a violent theft. So at worst, we're just going to get like arrested and no bail because it's a non-violent crime. That's what New York would do. Yeah, it's so you stole over $250,000. No bail, on recog. So they were like, there's nothing, no worries here.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? They're probably so they said their lawyers they got the product back for whoever got stolen from. Their lawyers are working out a plea deal. I don't see any plea deal where there doesn't something doesn't go on their record that even if they don't do jail time. Hey, these guys are pleading no contest to charges of large whatever class C felony.
It was like a college prank. Come on, we all do it to each other in the industry.
And they're probably banned from Gen Con forever. They'll be banned forever. Oh, yeah. They'll probably be banned from a lot of conventions forever because I know if I saw their company apply for a ticket to North Texas, it's a nope. Nah, we don't need you here. So I mean, if nothing else, there was no victim, so to speak. But it goes back to that old saying that was it Jesse James? I can't remember, John Dillinger, that said that bankers steal more with the stroke of a pen than I do with a gun. So these guys, they stole more in 15 minutes than most guys that walk into 7-Eleven, that say, give me everything in your cash register. And the guy who walks to 7-Eleven does that, probably gets 5 years in jail. And watch, these guys are probably not going to get any kind of thing like that.
Yeah, probably not. Now, Stuart, nerds have a problem with stealing. Lots of game stores and hobby shops, unfortunately, need to have a leave all bags at the counter rule due to too much theft. Now,
and a lot of it's cards too. We had a big card theft at a store near us too. Yeah.
So it used to be you went to the complete strategist. You had to leave your bags in the front.
Right.
If you went to the Strand bookstore, you put your book your bag in a cubby. They gave you a playing card that number matched the cubby and whatnot. But now, because New York State did away with plastic bags, you have to bring your own bags. None of these stores have you check your bags anymore at the counter. They want nothing to do with it. So they'd rather have you shoplift, or potentially shoplift, than, and that's the other thing too. Who's responsible for you? Now, I lost my iPhone 14 was in my bag. What happened to it?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be responsible for that stuff right now.
Well, it's easy. I mean, there's a lot of card thefts in local stores. Even they've moved away from comics and games and toys because it's real easy just to shove a whole bunch of packs in your pocket. I mean, most of them are kept behind the counter, but they have, it's like any con man or any thief. They have ways around that. They hey, I want to look at all those packs there, and you put the packs out. Then all of a sudden you had 10 packs, and that was only 5. There's ways they do this, or they have one guy distracting you, and then they have his cute girlfriend come in, and she distracts you, and then the other guy grabs a whole box of packs. Okay, well, we got to leave. Let's go. There's things like there was actually a variation of that at my local store. It was a 2-man or 2-person team where one would go to the counter and ask for help. The other one would they would make sure they went there early in the morning when there's one person working, and they would have somebody go up to the front. And I just said cute girl, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It was a man. It was a man and a woman. But I mean, we'll go up there and go, hey, I need some help with this and that. I'm looking for something. And then the other half of the team would just grab stuff, and then I got to go, and they would go, and by the time they walked out the door, they noticed there was packs of cards missing. And so it's that's any place you have retail just is lousy right now anyway. Look at what's happening in San Francisco. I mean, that's just a dog mess. I mean, that's gotten ridiculous. I mean, there's so many Nordstrom's moved out of there after 40 years, 60 years. There's no Walmarts there anymore. There's no CVS's. They just all up and left because the San Francisco DAs decided they're not going to prosecute nonviolent cases, and nor will there be bail problems.
Right.
So it's just, hey, time to steal, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. There's no repercussion. Like before I was a cop, I worked at Stern's department store in Flushing, New York, and I was there for 8.5 years. and I knew a lot of people in the security department. And we had theft issues. Our worst theft at that time, this is going back to late 80s through the mid 90s, was internal theft.
Yeah. That's the one thing you always got to look for, internal shrinkage. That's the
internal shrinkage was worse than external shrinkage.
It is. Because the people that work there know how to steal. They know what to do.
And here's the thing, like back then, your external shrinkage, your classic shoplifter with the fake, with the bag with the fake bottom, which they had all these things lined with aluminum so it won't set off the sensors when they go out. And I learned how to pop sensors off that had security dials on at my own home, because I would come home with clothes like, oh man, I don't want to bring it back to work. I'm off for the next week. I want to wear this. So you put it in the freezer overnight, you take out a hammer and be done with it. But the external shrinkage, back then, you caught somebody for external shrinkage, you gave them a criminal trespass notice that they came back. They were just a criminal trespass. Their first theft was a slap on the wrist. But after that, Stearns prosecuted, because it was easy to get a criminal trespass prosecution than prosecution. Nowadays, this is all just a slap on the wrist in a lot of states. Not everywhere, but a lot of states.
Well, the thing too about internal versus external. So external almost. I mean, I worked in a mall for years, and it involved a lot of times the roving bands. We used to call them gypsies. Not allowed to call them gypsies anymore. Would come in, and then you get an alert. The phone ring. The gypsies are here. Oh dear. And so they would come in, and they would have different ways to steal stuff. But the thing about external theft is the most they're going to get away with is a bag of stuff, maybe. Right. CDs for the most part. They would try to steal CDs. Internal theft can go on for years and involve a lot of stuff. We had the music store I worked for was a record bar, which got eaten. I mean, now there's only there's like 2 record stores, because all the 18 other ones all got bought up by, the 1 or 2 left alive. So we got bought by Musicland, which got bought by somebody else. So anyway, but we had a store there, and we had a manager and assistant manager that had worked out a scheme to where they were basically ripping the store off, and not the store I worked at.
Right.
But here's the great part of the story. A friend of mine went to go work there because she moved, and she figured out what their scam was, how they were doing it. So she called in and reported. There's like this little hotline. If there's something going on, blah blah, report in the hotline. What turned out, the store sort of worked at the company, they had a reward for finding people who were stealing stuff. And it was something like $1,500 per person. She ended up getting a $3,000 check from the company.
Wow.
Because she basically laid out exactly what their scheme was, what they were doing, how they were doing it, how long they've been doing it. And then I guess they had somebody professional go in and check records and say, yep, they're logging in less CDs they're getting in, and they're taking the other CDs and they're selling them all, or they're returning them. And they probably cost the company about $15,000-$20,000 over a period of about a year. So she got her $3,000 check and she quit. It's like, dang it, I wish that could have been me. But yeah, internal theft is much worse, and that's just a tiny. I mean, that's not even that much. I mean, that's just a little record or little music store back in the late 80s, early 90s. Imagine what you could get away with now if you knew what you were doing.
I mean, the whole Crazy Eddie fiasco. I got to know about it even better because I was working in electronics. We got a new stock guy, and the new stock guy comes up to me. I'm a salesperson, and I did some stock work on the side for overtime. He's like, "Hey, listen, we had this deal going on at Crazy Eddie." I go, what deal? Oh, well, we would mark out inventory as damaged, but it wasn't damaged. And then it was so damaged that we wouldn't send it back to the manufacturer. We just certify it was damaged, and then we would sell it. So I was like, all right, yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. Went back to my manager's office, picked up the phone to security, and I knew the security manager. I'm like, hey, Dan? He's like, yeah, it's Eric. What's up? You know our new security guy? Yeah. He just offered me to get in on a scam to steal from my own department by marking out stuff. He goes, really? I go, yeah. Give me all the details. Give him all the details. 10 minutes later, This guy was summarily summoned to security, debriefed, and dismissed.
Oh,
No crime.
oh.
They weren't even going to wait for him to commit a crime. They were like,
Yeah, there's no point catching him in the act when you just get rid of him. If you get a chance, look up online the guy, and he was from my area, the guy the Lego thief, who ended up stealing like $500,000 for the Legos over a few years.
Oh my God.
Well, so here's the scheme was, and like I said, you can find it online. It's such a famous case. But he figured out he would go to he would go to Targets or Walmarts, and he would see if there was a woman working the register, because women don't know what Legos are worth. They don't know what Legos are. He would go to the back where they have these Lego sets. You know, they have like a Millennium Falcon. They have these, $500 Lego sets. I mean, really expensive Lego sets. He would buy a cheap Lego set. He would run professional photocopies of the tag, put it on a sticky base, and then he would go to the $500 sets and slap these $25 tags on them all. Then he'd go to the front. He would make sure he got a woman, like I said, that doesn't know, and they would just scan it. And so he'd walk out with $2,000 worth of Legos for like $100. He would go to many. He didn't just do this at one store. He did this all through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I believe it's from Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Right.
Then he would go and sell them on eBay with just pure profit. He's selling a $500 Lego set for whatever, I don't know, $400, and he paid $25 for it. He did this for a long time, until he finally had some employees at one of the stores that started realizing there's this guy. We're looking at our stats, and our stats are in the toy department are crap, but yet we don't have any Legos. And I believe they thought it was internal theft at first. They thought, well, there's no way we're losing this many Legos. They looked at the cameras, and they found the guy doing it on camera, and he had a routine. He'd come by every day to certain stores, and all they did was wait for the next time he came by, and they had cops waiting. And then so he came by, he slapped the stickers on, went to the front, they busted it. They waited till he checked out, bought the stuff, then the cops came out, sir. And he eventually got a warrant for his house. His house was filled top to bottom, front to back with Lego sets. And we're talking the expensive stuff, not the cheap.
Of course.
And it was crazy. So if you ever get a chance, I probably left out some of the fun details. Go look up the Lego thief, or I don't know what you'd call it, but just how he what he did, and how much he stole. And this was like 15, 20 years ago. I mean, this was not this didn't just happen, just like a little while ago. This was a long time ago. I'm looking up right now. I don't see. Yeah. And actually, I looked it up. I put Lego. There was one that just got busted in 2023. So it's still happening. A guy stole over 200 sets, $17,000 worth of Lego merchandise.
Man.
The guy I'm talking about did more, though. So, yeah, look that up. It's really good. But so yeah, it doesn't help. The problem is, and I think someone said this up here, when you allow people to get away with theft like that, there is a, there's a, what do you call it? A slippery slope. And they're like, hey, I didn't get caught. I didn't get caught for that, And there's
society pays. Yeah.
There's been speculation that the Gen Con thieves have done it before. There's a lot of people that came forward afterwards and said, yeah, but I missed like a case. I was missing a case of Magic cards. I missed a case of this. And there was suspicion they did it before, just never got caught.
And so they got bold. They got bold this time. They were probably stealing like I said, a case here, a case there. No, a pallet.
A pallet. So that's they got bold because maybe they had been stealing a case here or a box here and there, and maybe they thought, well, we've been stealing, nobody said anything. Maybe there's no cameras in here. Maybe they thought there was no cameras because they weren't getting caught. Because it's hard to believe that these two guys who ran a store and worked Gen Con suddenly just one day decided, let's just steal an entire pallet of Magic cards, and we're not even going to hide our face or anything. We're going to wear the shirt for our company. That I find that rather unbelievable. I think it's much more believable that we've done this a million times. We've never got caught before. And that's the danger of this, of letting this stuff go and then say, we're not going to charge you for this. And I understand why you would think it's a good idea not to do that, because you're crapping up the system with all these petty crimes. But that's how you nip it in the bud, right?
Well, yes, but see, the societal argument against it is if you arrest somebody, if you put somebody through the system, you've damaged them.
Yeah.
All right. It is scarring. Maybe you're making a criminal for life. There's got to be a middle ground. There's got to be something between no cash bail and people spending a year in prison waiting for a trial date for a petty theft.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want you in there. I mean,
there's got to be a middle ground that everybody in society can agree upon, and we're not there.
Obviously not.
Yeah, we're not there.
I hope you get better, Bob. That's a terrible story.
Yes. Sepsis and pneumonia. That's what started out my 2020.
That's
I
bad.
know how that sucks, man. And I was like, I didn't even know I had sepsis until I was discharged, and it was on my discharge papers. And then I had to go, what the fuck is sepsis? And then I looked it up and went, oh, blood poisoning. Holy shit, that kills you. So yeah, God bless.
By the way, you just mentioned that. I'm just thinking also, Ernie, my guy X in the hospital, apparently not doing very well. He was in the hospital, got out, and then had to be rushed back, which is never a good sign. That's really bad. So, as much as we think he's made horrible decisions the last few years, I mean, just some really terrible decisions. You don't want to see the poor guy, have this kind of an end. You don't want to. I mean, he kicked out. He kicked alcohol. He's been alcohol free for, I don't know, 8-9 years now. So, but I think just me speculating, he did a lot of damage to his body during the 80s and 90s. When he himself says he was basically using every drug and drinking everything he could get his hands on for 25, 30 years. So
right.
But yeah, I hope this isn't his end, because I don't think he deserves a better end, but I think that it would be nice if he had a better ending to his story.
Well, I've been following on Facebook, and I forget who Donna spoke with. Maybe it was Benoit. But Ernie is conscious. He's able to talk. I guess he doesn't have the tube down his throat right now. However, he's on dialysis, and part of the issue was his kidneys failed. So it's not just congestive heart failure that he's going through. He's going through multiple complications. So, and by the way, there was some troll on, I actually think it was, I hate to say it, I think it was in the Dungeon Craft community on Facebook, where, I had the video up about Ernie asking for, prayers and good thoughts. He goes, well, he's in a hospital, so he's seeing doctors, right? So he doesn't need prayers. I go, prayers don't hurt. Yeah. Well, doctor's a lot better than a prayer. You know what? You're not praying necessarily for the person. You're praying for the family. You are trying to make them feel better. And we forget this a lot of times. It's like, there's a lot of shit that Ernie's going through. Ernie's got a wife. He has siblings. He has family, and that are scared shitless right now. And those are the people that my prayers go out to too, because they're suffering in their own way. It sucks. If anybody's been hospitalized,
honestly, look, I want to see Ernie have a redemption story. This garbage he's been through he's been doing he's been pulling the last couple of years. I hope that's not how we see him at the end of his time. I hope that he has a redemption story, because just some really stupid stuff the last few years. So it would be great if he could come back, get better, and throw all that aside and just move on.
So Elle has an update. Heidi updated Cindy, Alex.
Oh, okay.
Should have seen Ernie by now. Heidi and her husband will be on the Dungeon Delver with Bill tomorrow if things are stable with Ernie.
Oh, that's good. Well, good deal. Good deal. Yeah, Heidi and them would do. I feel bad for the family. They're nice people. I feel really bad for them having to deal with this.
Yeah,
yes, and you're right. Tabletop Tap Room. Ernie's business partner in North Carolina has not said one word to get well for him, because he's. Well, I'm not going to. Should I speculate? Can I speculate, Eric? I'm not going to name any names. I'm just going to speculate. I speculate this individual is waiting for Ernie to pass away so he can pop up and want to get money and say, "Oh, let's donate for a memorial for Ernie, because I love this guy. He was the greatest guy ever, and this and that. And so why don't you send money for this? Because he's been trying to get money for the past few weeks or months. He needs money really bad. I think this is going to be a money raising opportunity for this person.
What did Ernie do? Don't blame Ernie for the shit Justin did. Well, he's one of the partners, right?
He has yet to come forward and say, yeah, this guy's a piece of garbage. You can do just as much by being quiet as you can by not doing it. And this is the kind of person that you don't associate with. I mean, I know people sometimes get overblown. They say, "Oh, that guy's a Nazi. That guy's a fascist," and because they don't know what the meaning of the word is anymore. But in this case, you really have a guy that's really a piece of shit. And Ernie really needs to know that by now, and he probably does know that. But instead, he's taken the tact of, I'm just not going to say anything, rather just associate for this individual.
I think in Ernie's case, Ernie's interest in new TSR and Ernie's interest in the Dutch and Hobby Shop Museum, supposedly, as was reported initially, a financial interest because he supposedly owned part of it, relies upon him not rocking the boat.
Yeah.
So now if you're an enabler, it's up to you to decide if an enabler is as guilty as the offender in a case. I have my own opinions.
I understand when you say he ran games of the place where it's his team. That's great, but that's also a form of look. My neighbor gets arrested for having kiddie porn. I'm not going to run D&D games over there. I'm just saying, what? I'm just going to stay away from that person. I'm going to stay away from that place. I'm going to stay away from anything to do with them. Because I don't want to get associated. It's guilt by association. You don't have to run games at that place. He runs games at his house all the time. So, but he was basically giving tacit support to that person by running games there and doing things there. He needed to completely there's just some people you have to completely disassociate from. I mean, I believe that everybody has a little good in them. I have friends far right. I have friends far left. I have friends in the middle. I'm on Facebook groups that you would like, what? You're on that group? That's stupid. But, because I'm like, I see a little bit of good in this person. They're not completely lost. But there's some people that are just so lost. You just say, you know what? I just can't associate with you anymore. You're just a person that I just can't do anything with anymore. Because this person insulted his brother. I mean, I'm sorry if Eric knows my brother. He works at the con. Great guy. If somebody comes up and says the things about my brother that this guy said about Luke, I'm not associating with him anymore just because they insulted my brother and said, I don't know what your deal is, but I would love to be in business with you, but I'm not going to be in business with somebody that treats my brother like that. So, a lot of it is just Ernie wants things to be a certain way. And I understand nostalgia. I really do. Believe me, I'm lost in nostalgia most days myself, but at a certain point you have to grow up, and wow. He's a grown ass man. He's older than me. He's a grown man.
I've heard Ernie described as the Peter Pan of old school gaming. I'm not the one that designated that, but I've heard it used to describe Ernie in that he is still trying to recreate for himself, what it felt like gaming back in the 70s and 80s at the old TSR. And he's not letting that go. So listen, I'm not judging Ernie at this point. I want the best in health for him. I really do. I went through congestive heart failure. I will always have that hanging over my head. I wish it on nobody. Certainly not Ernie.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we hope he gets better. I'm not saying that he deserves all this, but yeah, I absolutely hope he gets better. But I hope he gets better to be able to come back and then have a redeeming story at the end, which is rejecting this person who has, become a part of his life that's just a piece of garbage. And yeah, I'm sorry. I don't. Yeah, I do. No, I'm sorry. I assume that he knows what social media is because he posts on social media. So no, that's not an excuse, y'all. I'm sorry. He has to know what this guy said about his brother and his family. By the way, his sisters too. He insulted the whole family. not just Luke. So yes, I mean he has to know all this, and I think it's just look, you can have a person that's your friend or that you like that has issues, and I've got a lot of them. I've got a lot of issues too, and I have friends that have issues, and you can accept them for that, but you don't have to. So you don't have to support them and stuff like that. You can say, look, you're my friend. I mean, I've had friends. One of my really good friends is an alcoholic and did some terrible things when he was drinking, and when he got sober, he did restitution for some of those things. And I mean, I like this guy a lot, but when he was drunk, I didn't like him. He's a bad dude, bad dude. And he's been, this guy's been sober now for about 20 years, and I'm glad because he was a bad dude when he was drinking. I still liked him though. I never gave up on our friendship, but man, he had some problems. I'm glad he finally got, okay. But, yeah. But yeah, we hope he gets better. And this really sucks. This has been a suck ass year anyway.
Oh God.
To have this happen is just not, it's not great. So, and speaking of suck ass years, are we going to get to the news of the day? Should we even cover this?
Which is the news of the day, Michael?
I don't even know if I want to go into this because this is just at this point. I'm sitting here fiddling with the noise. I'm fiddling with pins on my desk. So I'm like, do we really want to talk about this? We got to talk about it, but do we really want to talk about it? But we have to talk about it. But so this week, the owner of Labyrinth Lord issued a C&D against our guest last week, who was Greg Gillespie, writer of Dragon Slayer, and it's been an absolute shitstorm in the OSR. I mean, look, a lot of OSR people don't know who either of them are, so they're like, well, I don't understand what this is about, because they're like, hey, I wish I didn't know of this. I wish I didn't know this was going on because it's the stupidest thing ever. But it happened, and so I guess we have to talk about it at least for a little while. I don't know how. We're not going to get in depth here because it's just this crap is all over the internet. If you want to find it, just go to any OSR group or D&D group, and somebody has a stupid opinion on it, or go to Eric's video that he did on it, where there's a lot of stupid opinions in the comments. There's a lot of really idiotic opinions in the comments, and then you can make your own choice here. But I'm just going to say that I think this is. I think I understand why they did it. I'm really not going to speculate. I just don't understand how. That'd be like me going, Eric. I'm gonna send you a C&D because this continual light thing you're working on that you haven't done yet. I think it infringes on my property that I wrote.
Well, what property did you write?
Well, I wrote this, something for Frog God years ago, and I think you're copying me directly, and so I'm going to issue a C&D that do not do any light.
So they're saying that not actually. My large issue with the C&D in question is it's not one example given of what the infringing work is or what the infringing part is.
I'm not going to tell you what I think you copied from me, Eric. I'm going to give you a C&D. Just stop publishing it. I haven't, matter of fact, I haven't seen it yet, so I really don't know what you have in there, but I just know that you and I like the same things. And you and I do this. And so you probably stole from me. You might, maybe you're unconscious from it, but I think you did it. So that's the kind of thing, which is just stupid. Because, look, if there was something particular you could point at and say, look, I saw the preview that Greg did, and this preview copies directly from my rule set, which I am not going to allow. So I'm going to issue a C&D that, you and I need to talk about this at the very least. But to issue something like this, I can only see it as a fishing expedition. That, okay, well, I kind of hope that Greg copied me, because that way, when it comes out, if he did, I can say I already issued the C&D, and now I'm going to sue his ass because he had a chance to take it off and he didn't. And I'm going to tell you guys, I know Greg Gillespie. There's no way on earth he's going to copy anything directly from Labyrinth Lord. There is absolutely 0% in doing something like that. It makes no sense, especially now that the spotlight's been turned on it and everybody's going to be looking for it.
Right.
So it's an exercise in futility, absolute exercise in futility from somebody who came out with a great rule set, which Labyrinth Lord is, and everybody played it for a while. Everybody recommended it. Everybody wrote something for it. And then it just kind of sat there and nothing was ever done with it. And here we are 15 years later and everybody's moved on. And you have OSC out there, which is a clone of BX. You have you have a lot of clones out there of BX and some of the other, stuff. And so you can't just sit there for 15 years and say, well, I'm still king of the mountain and I haven't done anything in 15 years, but I have this rule set. It's like Gale hiding what Gary Gygax did. You're going to have a whole generation that don't know who Gary Gygax is. Well, now you have a whole generation that don't know what Labyrinth Lord or who the writer of Labyrinth Lord is because they haven't done anything. So,
well, now I only find this stuff out because other people send me screenshots. I am blocked by Dan Proctor on social media. I believe Mike is also blocked. I don't know what it is that we said to get blocked, but maybe just, I don't know, being too dangerous minds. But Dan, I think, announced earlier today that Labyrinth Lord 2E is no longer going to be Labyrinth Lord 2E. It's going to be Labyrinth Lord Revised. I don't know what the difference is going to be. I don't know when the projected date is.
Well, yeah. Well, the problem is Labyrinth Lord 2E, there's no point in it anymore because OSC did it and did it better. So I think it's probably, honestly, that's not a bad strategy. I think that's a good idea just to revise what you already have because you're not going to do a better game than OSC. So just go ahead and revise what you have and republish it. It hasn't been republished in how many years, Eric? I mean, I don't know.
You have the Halloween cover. You had the Dragon cover. I mean, the covers have changed, but nothing else has been changed in I don't know how long.
No, there's typos people have been tracking through through printings, the last 5 printings, the same typo. I mean, stuff like that. So nothing's really been done with that. So an update.
Are you sure that's Labyrinth Lord or was that Castles of Crusades?
Oh, well, as much as I love the Chenalds, they could use it, get better at it or sometimes. Sometimes editing is I always remember the first errata sheet for Cast of Crusades rulebook was a packed stack of paper like this big. Like every page there was something. So no. This it's I'm actually on board with this idea. I think you should revise it and put it out there because nobody knows who he is anymore. No games are published with it anymore. I mean, there was a time when Whisper and Venom was published with Labyrinth Lord, when Barrow Deep was. I mean, there was a lot of games published compatible with Labyrinth Lord. That was a huge thing.
Everything from Peter Spawn, Small Niche Games.
Spawn. Yeah, Peter Spawn. Yeah.
Actually, James Spawn got his start.
Yes, he did.
Doing Labyrinth Lord hacks and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when I came into the OSR and started finding stuff. There were a lot more games that were using Labyrinth Lord or settings that were using Labyrinth Lord as its core than Swords and Wizardry. Labyrinth Lord just had so much.
So for those that don't know, I mean, because honestly, if you haven't been around in 15 years, nothing's happened with this property, so you don't know. When this came, Osric was kind of the first thing that came out. Then Swords and Wizardry. Then right after that was was Gonerman's Basic Fantasy Role Playing and Labyrinth Lord. I mean, just like pretty much right after. I mean those things have been around. What is my cat doing? She's huffing gasoline, as Ty would say.
Uh-oh.
Come here. Get over here, dumbass. God, she actually comes when I call her. How many cats do that? So anyway, this is one of the big names in retro clones. Was this and it was one of the better ones too. It was really good. Everybody used it. I used it. Everybody used it.
And listen, Dan had a great marketing strategy. He gave you for the original Labyrinth Lord and the Advanced Edition characters, you could get the no art version PDF for free. The art version had a cost. So you could come in, say, hey, I really like this game. Now I want to support the author. He was the first to do that. I mean, I should say Osric was, and Basic Fantasy, but I mean, Swords and Wizardry wasn't initially. Swords and Wizardry, you had to pay for the PDFs.
Yeah.
So, Dan was the one who had the marketing strategy of, hey, take the no frills, white white box with black lettering, like when we were kids. Like it's like I got the no frills macaroni and cheese. It tastes like sawdust, but then you're like, oh well, I can step up now to the store brand. He was great because he gave you a taste of Labyrinth Lord that was complete. And if you liked what you saw, you could back him. It was a great marketing way to do it.
But I mean, it was one of the go-to retro clones back in the day. When you talked about retro clones, that was the one you talked about. And then just there was a lot of and Dan himself said this. He had a lot of mental issues. He had just things going on in his life I want to get into, but he posted about him. Wasn't hiding them, and he just did nothing with the game for a long, long time. Well, a lot of games, if you do that, instead of staking your claim, a lot of other publishers are gonna come out and use the same inspirational material, and they're gonna publish their own games.
Right,
and that's what happened.
More modern looks. I mean, Labyrinth Lord was the engine behind Mutant Future. And
that's right, yeah.
And Apes Victorious. And Apes Victorious, I think second edition of was it a Spaceman and Spacecraft?
Yes, that which is basically so Starships and Spacemen, which came out in the late 70s, and is basically a Star Trek. It's basically a Star Trek role playing game with the numbers filed off. He did that, which was he bought the rights to Spaceships, Starships, Spacemen, or whatever, and then he republished it. And if you want to play a really good Star Trek clone, very easy to play, that's it. That is a great Star Trek clone.
Mike, I realize now why Dan blocked me, because I criticized poor editing in Starships and Spacemen 2.
Oh no! How dare you?
I don't know, like a half
dare you, sir?
or something like that. And I got an angry email from that.
And this is very frustrating to us too, because when Labyrinth Lord announced the second edition, I was really excited. I ran to the Labyrinth Lord Facebook page to find I was blocked. What have I done? Is there a mistake here? But then Eric finds out he's blocked too.
Yep.
And then I start talking to a lot of my friends, and they're all blocked. And we can't figure out, we have no clue why. This doesn't make any sense. So I know people that are on the page that aren't blocked, they're sending me back stuff like, yeah, he's doing this. To this day, I've never found out why I was blocked, except that Dan did state yesterday that if you criticize him, you get blocked. Or actually, it's not that. If you talk S about him, you get blocked. And I'm like, well, maybe Eric and I might have criticized something on the show. We never talked S about him or his game. It makes no sense just to cut people off when they, may have said something,
It's making or trying to find your own echo chamber. Listen, I get criticized constantly. Almost every video includes at least one criticism in the comments. All right, I don't go around blocking people because they're criticizing me. Because
you would have an audience of almost like me and nobody else, and even not me. Maybe, I don't know. If everybody that criticized you would have blocked,
listen, the only way you improve, if somebody is saying, hey, listen, it's an interesting game, it's a good game, and I like the idea of playing Star Trek with a D20 system, that's great. However, the editing is fucked up. Well, if that is truthful, then take the criticism as constructive. Not everybody, listen, the world is not full of safe spaces and hand-holding.
I mean, look, and if what he says is true and he's had a rough last few years, maybe he's overly sensitive to that. Maybe, he overly sensitive to constructive criticism or unconstructive criticism even. But I'll tell you what, one thing I've never done, I've never gone to Labyrinth page and took a dump all over it and said, yeah, this is a terrible game. And you guys are, I've never even done anything close. I don't think I've never done that online, period. We may have talked about it in the show once and maybe, and what's weird is I like Apes Victorious. I like all the stuff they put out. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense.
See, but Mike, we've spoken well. We just did it on this show, right? Of Old School Essentials. And we've talked about, that Old School Essentials picked up where Labyrinth Lord
It has, and we've done shows about that, about how it lapped Labyrinth Lord in terms of
Labyrinth Lord was offering nothing new.
Right.
I can only get the pumpkin spice cover so many times for Halloween. It's no longer exciting. Or the dragon cover. Listen, the issue with Labyrinth Lord is, as a system, Dan would do nothing to support it. Gavin makes sure there is stuff being put out. Today's deal of the day on Drive-Thru is an OSC adventure from Gavin's publishing company.
You know what this reminds me of, Eric? So let's go back to like 1979. D&D is brand new, and people are putting out stuff. Little 16-year-old me, I was buying anything on the shelf that had D&D on the cover because I just wanted to read it all. And so I'm buying TSR stuff, Judges Guild stuff, whatever. So I immediately noticed, there's a big quality difference between the Judges Guild stuff and the TSR stuff in terms of prediction and print and and quality of adventure. But I don't care. I don't care back then. I don't care because you know what? There's nothing to compare it to. My expectations are super low. If they can write better than 16-year-old me, I'm in. I'm buying it. Okay, let's fast forward to 5 years ago. That shit ain't going to cut it anymore because you know what? I don't just have Judges Guild and TSR to look at anymore. There's about 50 companies out there that put out really good small press stuff. And that's where, so if you're going to put out something and just rest on your laurels, it's going to get taken over by somebody else real quick.
Right.
I mean, there's stuff that I used to really like 15 years ago that hasn't changed at all now. And I look back, I'm like, well, that's really cool for 15 years ago. And that's the problem is that the world changes and things get better and things move on. And that's just, and there's a lot of people out there, you know what? They still like Judges Guild. I love Judges Guild because I have a nostalgic feel about it. It's awesome. Yes, I know the paper's terrible. I know the writing's substandard. I know the editing's non-existent, but I just love that stuff. And the thing is, I don't know why Dan wants to be that guy in the OSR. Why does he want to be the guy that says, yeah, I was there when they first started, but I didn't do anything past that? And I still want all this respect. I still want all the respect as being there, which he does have for being one of the first retro clones. But at this point, people have looked at the same material he did, the same, 1E, BX, BECME, all those game systems. And this, like in the case of Gavin, has said, I can do this better. I can do a really cool layout, and I'll write things a certain way. It's really cool. And OSC looks great. It has great artwork. It has, just the layout, every part of it is awesome. For what I've seen of Dragon Slayer, it looks great. It looks like an old school rule system put together by somebody who likes old school. Great with great art, which is something, I'm sorry, back in the day you didn't see a lot of. There wasn't a lot of great art. There wasn't a lot of great art when the OSR first started out. There was some good art. You had Peter Mullins, who's I think is an incredible underrated artist.
Right.
He did a lot of stuff for the OSR. But other than that, a lot of that OSR stuff was just, it was just whoever I can find to hire and slap a drawing of a fighter up here,
So Elle has an interesting comment. The same as people were talking about Ron Edwards and the Forge recently complaining about the term fantasy heartbreaker because most of the OSR's 3 house rules added to an older game. I don't think there's going to be very many people that are going to argue that. Some of them step away. Yeah. Some of them step away a bit further if they go setting centric, and they adjust the rules for the setting. But yeah, no, and there's a reason for that. People from the geriatric community, the old school community.
Yeah, and that's us, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've got my cane, folks. Remember, I got my cane.
Yeah.
I need. We like rule sets that are familiar to us, that we don't have to relearn. Yeah. Listen, one of the great things about Shadow Dark was I read the quick start of the rules, and the quick start is very complete. And went, yeah, I know 5e is the roots of this, but it feels very OSR. Just like Castles and Crusades felt very much like AD&D 1e to me, even though it was built on the 3rd edition rules and didn't stray too far from them. So we want things that feel familiar.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to tell me, well, you should have an OSR game that's built off a D12, and then it's, I don't know how OSR it is. Again,
how many? Look, there's a finite amount of ideas out there, just like there's a finite it's the same with superhero comics. There's a finite amount of superpowers you can give the guys for it just starts getting ridiculous. And you can't do Spider-Man anymore. You can't do Superman. You can't do Batman. You can't do. I mean, you get down to where like, well, this guy here, he lifts toilet rolls with his head, and he turns the toilet rolls into gold, and he throws them at you and bashes you to death, and he can pick up the toilet rolls afterwards and make money off it. I mean, that's how ridiculous you get at this point because everything's been taken. And so when you're playing an OSR system, you're essentially playing somebody's house rules.
Right.
And that's why I think it's funny when somebody says, oh, man, there's already way too many OSR systems out there. No, there's not. There's as many OSR systems out there as there are people who have house rules. And what you're doing is when you publish it, you're saying, I like my house rules a lot. I think they work really well. I want you to play my house rules and see if you like them too. I think you'll like my house rules. Some cases I do. Some cases I don't. I'm like, I don't really like your house rules. I mean, Mort Borg. I think it's a cool game. I don't want to play it. I'm not interested in Mort Borg. I think it's a very imaginative game. It's just not my style of gaming. It's like somebody said, hey, I'm going to do house rules, except this game is going to be completely effing nuts. And it's going to have this, this, and this. Great. Right. If you want to play that, that's awesome. I don't dig that. But I look at something like, Dragon Slayer and say, I'd play that. Or, I don't know. I like, what's that Swords and Wizardry clone I really like?
Swords and Wizardry Light?
No, I like that one too. But there's a clone out there where they basically said you can't play non-humans. You only play. It's very Conan-esque, Howard-ish. I'll look it up. I can't remember anymore. Dang it! Okay. It's one of my favorite retro clones. But basically, yeah, it's just somebody said, look, I like Swords and Wizardry, but I'm going to go ahead and retro clone it. And I'm going to say you can't play dwarves or elves or halflings because they're non-human weird races. Nobody likes them in my world. And my world's very human centric, and so, yeah, that's what you're doing. You're playing house rules that somebody else likes and thinks that is something that you would like to. So there's going to be a lot of sameness in here.
Yeah, but
look at Blue Home. Blue Home is a retro clone based on Holmes D&D, right?
Yeah,
and it's cool. I think it's really cool because Holmes D&D is a when you strip it all down, Holmes is a really fun little game to play. Maybe not for a campaign game, but except that the guys who did Blue Home said, no, you can do this as a campaign game. We're gonna. God, I can't remember the guy that did it. Dreamscape, I think, was the company. I can't remember. But they said, no, we can make this a playable game. And they did. I think the Journeyman, the Apprentice rules are really good. They do a really good job with that. Other people, not so much. I've seen some retro clones I don't like that much,
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I think Mazes and Perils wound up being a rewrite of the Blue Home rules. With permission. Even the 80s games were mostly D&D clones, but they did more to change it. Palladium. Certainly, Palladium Fantasy was a D&D clone. GURPS. Aside from, no, because it's a point-based system, which is all on 3d6, no d20s, all skill-based. No. Traveler, 2d6, no skill gain whatsoever. No. Now, if you said Tunnels and Trolls was Ken St. Andre playing a session or two of D&D and then going home going, oh, I'm going to rewrite this game from memory. And then kind of shat the bed and didn't get it very close, but got something that was, and he couldn't use D20s because he didn't have any. We had to read his Monopoly set for, some D6s.
Yeah, D6.
So he made a game that has very much roots in D&D and is very different. But there weren't too many games. Palladium was the one that really, I think, from that generation, hews the closest to the D&D roots, and then realized they had to go a lot further. It's an overpowered game that's not balanced, but I love the setting material. But, listen, everything is somebody's reinterpretation. Nothing's new under the sun. Right. Even what's new isn't new because it's borrowing from somewhere. A gaming industry has been around for 50 years. Somebody coming around going, I've got a new idea. Guess what? Somebody's probably already done it. Maybe
you're getting to the point now where there's only so many crazy house rules. Okay, my system's like this, except the house rule is when you roll a 20, you have to roll 2 6-sided die, and if you get a 2 or a 12, then you get transported to another universe. And then I mean, it gets. There's only so much you can do with this. There's so much you can do. So, yes, games are going to start looking like other games, but they're going to have different. They're going to have house rule stuff. Everybody, like, I have a house rule game. I like to sit down and play the game that I like. My group all knows my house rule game. When people come over and play, I say, "This is no wait, we don't do that in my game. We do this instead." Everybody does that. And all you're doing when you have a retro clone at this point is say, "Look, this is what we're going to do. I like my house rule game. I think you'll like it too."
Right. Oh, listen, like I play in a game with Joe the lawyer's the GM. He runs AD&D 2E by the book with 24 pages of fucking house rules.
That's always cracks me up because I run 2E by the book, except I have like maybe one paragraph.
Yeah, no,
maybe one page, I guess.
Yeah,
one page.
It's just like, well, I missed what? What? Hold on a second, my head hurts.
Oh, that's so great.
So, but yes, we like Zofalic said, people like familiar don't really want to learn something completely different. I'll be honest with you, the only games in recent times that I felt comfortable saying, hey, I could probably run this.
Yeah.
That isn't familiar are systems like Tiny D6, maybe Open D6, but that's based on Star Wars, and I played that back in the day. Easy D6, which is interesting. I don't know if I could run it for wait for maybe a convention game. What was it? Faraway Land. Again, simple D6 based, but I don't want anything that is so far gone that I need to rewire and learn a new language. When I was in my 20s, I could pick up a game system. It would happen. My friends, oh man, I can't figure out Aftermath. And all of a sudden, this game is handed to me.
Yeah.
If you can learn how to run it, you can keep it. Bushido, if you can learn how to run it, you can keep it.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to learn how to fucking run this shit. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll stray as far as basic role playing. So RuneQuest or Call of Cthulhu or the other stuff that's like that. But I don't want to learn a new system that's overly complicated. I'm beyond that.
Right.
Yeah, Z, it's right. It's hard to come up with game mechanics.
So when you accuse somebody of, well, you can't accuse them of stealing game mechanics, which are not copyrightable. But when you accuse them of stealing directly from you, and not like, hey, this is just my house rules, I'm gonna do this, that. There should be proof out there. It should be really obvious this is directly copied from my rules. And I don't see it happening in this case. I just there's no point. I mean, there's so many different directions you can take your own house rules that it doesn't make any sense for somebody to copy your house rules.
Well, V has a good point. These days, aesthetics are a big part.
Yeah.
Release the traditional rules with the right flavor, and you will find a market.
Very true.
Dolanwood. Look at Dolanwood.
Oh my God! Yes.
Is essentially old school essentials tweaked to its own setting. And I'll be honest with you, my initial reaction when I heard about it was, oh, "Fuck this shit! I don't need another OSR RPG." And then I started reading the material, and I went, "Oh my God, I need another OSR RPG."
The funniest is when people sit there and go, and they talk about how great OSE is and this and that, and I just laughed myself. I go, they're just playing BX, but it was released in a way that makes you want to play it, because if it was released as the new BX basic, whatever, it would have got the buzz. But because it's OSE, old school essentials, and there's so many people playing that game that have no clue what BX is, never played BX, they aren't even as old as BX, and that's when you've done some really good marketing, like Gavin does, because he made a bunch of goofballs by BX repackaged.
Yeah.
And made $1 million off it. Made a freaking $1 million of it, and he was able to do it.
So, and he's getting a market that isn't all old fucks and grognards like Mike and I and Glenn my gaming group. Gavin's getting younger players.
Yeah. He's getting 5e players. He's getting all kinds of players from everywhere because the game is marketed a certain way. The artwork
and presentation is awesome.
The artwork's great, and the artwork sucks you into his vision of what he wants to do.
All right, let's just bring out the elephant in the room one last time. Labyrinth Lord, as it is currently presented, is not likely marketable. And Dan has already banned me and blocked me. So, but
me too.
If he hears this, he can listen to this and maybe take the advice to heart. Labyrinth Lord, as it currently is no longer marketable to the OSR. The OSR is no longer simply a bunch of old.
And that's what my comparison was to early D&D and Judges Guild. Judges Guild is within 5 years was no longer marketable to the D&D fan because the artwork by that point you had the second wave of artists. You had Elmore, you had Easley, you had Caldwell. There is no way that stands up against anything Judges Guild produced. And so you have to adapt and evolve. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
So, I mean, there's a reason why when we talk about things like Judges Guild, Judges Guild stuff has been.
I love Judges Guild, except that it had a time and a place. That time and place was 1976 through 1981, and then after that, it got left in the dust.
Stuff gets rebooted, but it gets rebooted with a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah,
Tiva Manor was a fresh reboot.
Yes,
that was beautiful. The Wilderlands, when it was put out by Necromancer Game.
Yeah. Look what Goodman's doing. Goodman's releasing all of Janelle's stuff again and doing a nice little, nice reboot. They're not just reprinting it. They're doing all these upgrades and new artwork and new map. I mean, they're doing all these upgrades because we won't accept what was state of the art in 1979 is not acceptable now for publication. And that's the same for any game like this.
So what was acceptable nearly 15 years ago is listen. I love the Odric rules. It's an AD&D rule set that I don't have to get lost in Gygaxian English. However, do you hear anybody publishing for Odric these days? Do you see anybody playing Odric these days? No, everybody's playing old school essentials.
Yeah,
because it looks really, really great and really, really high.
Well, and look, here's another example. Look at Shadow Dark now.
Oh yeah.
It's okay, and Eric can tell you this. So he's like, man, you got to check out the Shadow Dark. I'm like, it's a 5e clone. I don't care. I don't play 5e. I don't care. And you can't push me. No. You're gonna like this. You're gonna like this and that. I'm like, whatever. And then I saw you guys play it. I'm like, this is cool, man, because this is somebody doing their own spin. Kelsey did her own house rule spin on 5e and made it cool and did it with an old school sensibility and did the art was great. The everything, the layout's awesome.
And by the way, I'm gonna piss somebody else off with this one, Mike. I'm gonna be. Can I be an equal opportunity offender?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, I love Swords and Wizardry. I love the rule set. I love the complete rules. I did the light rules. I have my own continual light waiting in the wings to come out at some point. I can't run or reference anything beyond, I guess, the Errol Otis blue cover was the second printing, because the third printing was an optical mess, the way it was laid out. The box set, I need to pull out Rachel's readers.
Oh, that's just the type was too much. We were just talking about it again this weekend.
And the new book is pretty much the same with me. I have the new. I got mine too. It looks beautiful, and it just needs to be a little bit larger in font. So when I saw Kelsey's work, I was like, my God, she understands what it's like.
And by the way, great book, and I will agree with you. I don't know why the font, and the font's not small here. It's just not optimal, right? Can we say that?
Yeah, it's just not.
But it is a beautiful book. I think I like the layout, everything. I just wish it was a little bigger. I can't see things anymore, even with my glasses. I just can't see it anymore. And you got to think that their optimal audience is old fucks like me and you.
That's what I would think. But so that's a book that's going to go on my bookshelf. sadly. But it's the same
But if you want to play Swords of Wizardry, go ahead and buy it. It's a good rule book for that. But Eric's right. The last few editions have all dropped the ball in terms of one design flaw after another. There's been one design flaw after another. It just didn't work on these.
So now, as for Shadow Dark being 5e aimed at the OSR as opposed to 1e with some 5e cleanliness, Kelsey's mentor in gaming was James Mishler. James Mishler is more old school than Mike and I combined.
Man, he could tell us stuff about the city state of the Visible Overlord that we would never be able to. I mean, this guy is like the expert on Judges Guild, old school Judges Guild stuff. Just knows the Wilderlands like the back of his hand. I mean, if we got all transported there tomorrow and we wake up, he would know where we are in the Wilderlands. Oh yeah, we're on Ethan's field, and this is a guy that is just, just steeped in the old school. And yeah, if you have to have a mentor for old school, that's the mentor you want, is a guy like that.
Right. So, listen, do I honestly? Kelsey was publishing for 5e, so do I suspect it's a 5e chassis with an OSR body built around it? Sure.
Sure, it is. It doesn't matter.
To me which it doesn't have feet. No. Doesn't have skills. No. Is it fucking lethal? Yes. Mm-hmm. Does it have a shtick that makes it unique?
Oh yeah, you got to have your shtick. Yeah, and there's your shtick. It has great shtick. Great shtick.
And it's got great atmosphere. The classes have a good feel. And the classes, as they progress, will wind up being different. Two fighters will not wind up being the same. It's a beautiful thing. I think they handled it very well. I will likely at some point, start writing some material for it, at least for my own gaming.
I have thought that very thing, because once Greg Christopher told me his secret, I blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, then the secret is you don't have to play 5e to write for Shadow Dark.
No, you don't.
And I'm like, what? And he showed me, and I'm like, you're right, sir. You are right. And it's I mean, we can't, like I said, I was completely wrong on that, and I really like it now. But once again, it is how it's presented more than anything. She got the right artwork. She got the right layout. She did great marketing for it. These are all things you have to do. You can't just publish something and sit on it for 15 years and then hope, well, I don't understand why everybody just didn't love my stuff the way they loved it 15 years ago, because the market has passed you by and the market's changing, It changes every day. I mean, who knows? 5 years, Shadow Dark may be, man, you play that game, a bunch of old Fs. Nobody plays Shadow Dark anymore, dude. We play this kick-ass game called Snake Killer. Snake Killer is awesome, man. It's better than, unless, which Chelsea and seems to be able to do, they keep updating it and see, we're going to change it. We're going to make this better. We're going to do this over here.
Support material for it. And that's the thing. Like Labyrinth Lord had no official support material going for it for ages. So if that's the case, then you're telling your community that I'm not concerned enough to support my own work. So why should you?
That's what it boils down to, dude. If you don't care about your own work, why would anybody else care about your own work? And I think that's a really good point, Eric, because that's what it boils down to. Is if you don't show, and look, and once again, we're going to say that we'd have nothing against Dan at all, nothing, and he has been through a very rough last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
But he has to realize this is why the game isn't on top anymore. It's not because it's a terrible game. It's because other games took the same supporting material, which is basically 1E, BX, that era, and then just made a better game. They just sat there and said, how can we make this a better game? And that's what they did.
Giant Lands was forgotten before it was even published. All right. We did our session.
We have to play another session of that to show you how bad that thing is. Do we?
I mean, actually download an adventure and put you guys
through so bad.
Oh my god,
so terrible.
What a crock shite that game was.
Boy, but I still have a friend that bought it that still curses because he didn't consult me and he thought he was buying an OSR game. and because Jim Ward was part of it, and Ernie Gygax was part of it, and he got it, and he opened it and read it and said, "You got to be effing kidding me!" I need to see if he wants to sell that to me or just give it to me.
Well, here, it wasn't an OSR game, but it's certainly an old school game. I'll tell you why it was an old school
game. Because you couldn't understand the rules.
Because you couldn't understand it. It was kind of like put together like the Dungeon Master's Guide was, with random various systems that don't mesh well and tables and charts that don't follow the same progression. But hey.
The majority of OSR designer grift unsupported flash spin. I mean, I think that happens to an extent, but it's like anything else. I mean, the cream rises to the top, right? I mean, there's been plenty of things published the last few years that were hot for like. I mean, does anybody still play Thirsty Sword Lesbians? I mean, it won an award. I don't ever see a game of it anywhere. I mean, I guess maybe somebody plays it, but it was really hot for a while. I thought it was this is a kick-ass game, and now nobody plays it. I mean, what was the one last year? Crow something, and it won every award. I've never seen it played in my entire life, any convention. You know what I'm talking? What was that game? Crow something, or it was a Native American type game. But you have these games, and they just don't have staying power. They come out, they're really hot. Everybody has to get it because it's a hot thing.
But winning Ennies is not winning.
Ennies that's nothing anymore. Ennies is worthless.
Yeah, it's a social media prize, not even
it's not. It's not a. I mean, great if you win an Ennie, that's awesome. I mean there was some good stuff that won an Ennie this year. Vastin won, which I think is a really good game. There's some good stuff, Rivers of London, which is good, but it's not an indicator of really anything. It doesn't really mean anything. So
Marcelo, the latest that we have on Ernie is he's been conscious, able to talk. I believe he is on dialysis. Issues with congestive heart failure. Yeah. He's going to be hospitalized for a good stint. And my own experience with congestive heart failure, when it was finally diagnosed, I was in the hospital for just over 3 weeks. Most of that was to get water weight off me, but this is a situation where he has congestive heart failure, kidney issues, whatever other issues are going on. We don't know. So the best we can do is prayers for him and his family. I have positive, good thoughts, and and let it go from there.
And as I said, I really hope he recovers, because I think I'd rather he write a better ending to a story than this. I don't think this is a good ending to a story, because the last few years have been tough ones, and I really I was really happy when he stopped drinking. That was awesome, because Eric and I saw him at conventions, and he didn't look good. He looked really sick because he was killing himself.
Yeah,
and so. I really hope he recovers so he can write himself a better story, and that and I hope that happens. I'm always happy when that happens with people. I want people to write another story, or write a better story.
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody pretty close to Ernie say that Ernie's in a rough spot because essentially his body is 20 years older than he is.
If you ever read it, he posted a really long. I don't know where you can find it. He posted a very long post a couple years ago. And it was sobering and fascinating. It was basically, hey guys, here's my life. Here's how I grew up. And he grew up with his dad giving him beers when he was like 12 years old, and drinking with him at the table. And he grew up. His dad had a lot of money in the 80s, and I mean, $1 million in the 80s is probably like $5 million now.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, and so he was going out and he was drinking, he was drugging. He was sleeping with women. I mean, everything you could imagine the 80s were all about. This was what Ernie was about in the 80s and 90s. And, just kind of, lived a really awful life, just tore his body to pieces, just doing really bad stuff. And he just started to recover. I heard, I don't know if it's true or not, that there was the family had an intervention several years ago and told him he was going to die. They didn't want him to die. The sisters and his brothers, and seemed to turn it around. And then, of course, he got mixed up with Idiot Man, with the idiot from, and that was going to tarnish his legacy, because that nobody enters a relationship with that human being and remains unscathed. No one. No one remains unscathed when they come into contact with that piece of human garbage. So yes, I hope he Hope he writes a different ending to his story, but survives and is around. And there was somebody else I just saw this year. I mean, it's crazy, Eric. We've already had 2 or 3 people attending North Texas pass away this year. I mean, it's
I was
just
thinking about that earlier in the
wow.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, and Keith Polster died last week too, who was went to a lot of conventions. If you knew convention stuff, he was a big convention guy for a long time. He died of, I believe, of leukemia, complications of leukemia. Yeah, we're not those guys in the old school, man. We're not getting old. We're not getting any younger, man. It's tough, and you got to take care of yourself, and you got to have a little luck too,
Yeah.
Keith was he was sick for a while. He posted a lot about it on his Facebook page, and it really sucks. Was it? It was because I met him at a couple cons, and he's a nice guy. So I think Gary Con. I think I would see him at Gary Con. So.
Oh, folks! Before I forget, the link at the bottom of the screen for the DCC Mega Bundle has about a week left to go. Tenkars-tavern.game/DCC. Again, I had
really good,
a dozen and a half of the titles. It was still worth it for 74 titles for $25.
The guy, that's a look. Yes, it's 3rd edition D20 stuff, but it's made with a very old school sensibility, and you can very linear dungeon and stuff. It's stuff you can very easily convert to old school if you wanted to take a shot at it. I wanted a couple other things I want to add real quick. If you have, I'm going to try to find it real quick. Darlene, the first lady of gaming, she is having some issues with her house, and this is the same issue she had last year. I'm going to try to find the shoot. I can't believe I came in here unprepared for this.
Geez, hold on. I had it up, bro.
She has a GoFundMe going. Oh, I think I found it. Hold on. No. Jeez. Anyway, she really needs.
I got it.
Okay, she needs money for her. So she is slowly repairing her house piece by piece, and she's been running auctions and such. And she recently had some really bad news. Because of the storms on the East Coast, she started getting some really bad roof leaks. If you could spare $5-10, I am going to run an auction for her next week. The Save Queen Anne. There it is. I'm going to run an auction for her next week, and hopefully make her some money. I will. If you're part of my Facebook page or North Texas RPG Con page, we'll have a little more information about it. But we have some people donate some stuff, and also I have some Darlene's own stuff. That's awesome. It's got certificates for authenticity. It's signed by her, so definitely sign up for the North Texas RPG Con site or the North Texas RPG Con auction site, and we're going to try to make her the money next week. So I just want to throw that in there because sweet lady. I really
Darlene is a sweetheart. I mean, I didn't get a chance to spend that much time with her this year, but in 2022, I spent like half an afternoon just sitting with her. She is.
We could probably get her. We could probably get her on the show this month, Eric. I'll talk to her. I mean, if you think that's because I've heard we've never had her on the show, and I heard she's an absolute hoot. People have said you've got to get
see it. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, definitely. And we could have the link up for her GoFundMe. She is someone. If you've never met Darlene and you've seen that she's going to be at a convention that you can get to it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's funny. So she might have dated everybody that worked at TSR back in the early 80s, and she will tell you all about it too. She's not shy about telling you about it. It's funny as hell. She embarrasses those old guys sometimes, the story she tells. But yeah, she's really nice, and she was widowed several years ago. Has a house that didn't get a lot of work on it in the last decade, and she's just having some major financial issues. So we're gonna try to help her out a little bit with an auction next week. And then, like I said, I don't know why she wouldn't be on the show. I think we get her on the show, man. She apparently can talk your ear off, so that would be awesome.
That works.
Yes,
very cool.
I didn't know her sister. Her sister worked at TSR too, which I did not know until I went to GaryCon and met her sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her sister worked. It was very much they were very despotism was going on crazy there. I'm sorry, nepotism was going on crazy.
Despotism, maybe that too.
No, not despotism. More like that. Yeah, but yeah, everybody and all the relatives would work there too. So if you ever read John Peterson's book, he talks about like all the Blooms that work there. It was crazy. Like, the brothers-in-laws, even the sisters-in-laws, the cousins, the nieces, the nephew. I mean, it was nuts. Everybody that had Bloom as a last name worked for TSR at one point,
Wow.
And then so Gary, to counter that, put all his kids on the, he's like, well, if you're going to have everybody you ever know work, I'm going to have all my kids on the payroll too. So all the sisters were on the payroll. Ernie was on the payroll, So at one point, yes, it was. So yeah, apparently Darlene's sister was also on the payroll. So nice. She had some fun. She worked like in an office though. I don't know what she did. She wasn't a creative. So
right.
She had some funny stories though.
Wow, we did pretty well for a show with minimal prep. Remember, we
always do that, and we'll try to have Bunny was very excited about coming on, her and Zane, and we will try to have them next week to talk about their Kickstarter, which is a Shadow Dark, and it's doing really well. I've already backed it. It looks really cool, and I like Shadow Dark anyway. And I'm gonna give Darlene a call this week. We'll get Darlene, see if we can get her on the show too. She can talk about her stuff, and we'll see who else we can get on. But yeah, we have some good guests coming up, and we got some cons and stuff coming on later on this year. So it's going to be, we're going to have some good stuff. We really, really like. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe, because we are really, really, really trying to hit a certain number. We didn't hit it yet, did we?
No. But we are 11 away.
Right there.
This week's been good. This week has been good. We've stagnated, and now this week we're picking up. So that's good. So now, folks, this Saturday. This Saturday.
Is our number really 2.98 subscribers? We are right there.
Yeah,
we are right there. Please get us to 3,000.
2.989. We're 11.
Please, 11 people sign up tonight. Sign your mother up tonight. Sign your brother.
Damn it.
Tom Tullis, sign up some of your enemies tonight.
On Saturday, 8 p.m., Daniel Hand. We have an actual author / UK therapist. We're going to talk about using RPGs in therapy. So yes, we have an actual guest on this Saturday. He's recently published a book on this. Rach, being the expert in the therapy and social work, has been doing the reading. And she's been enjoying it. So it's going to be an episode I take a back seat. What can I tell you? I'll just direct.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. And then what do you got going on Friday?
Friday is the usual group of the random party generator.
Oh yeah, those guys. I would love. I'll tune in, because I'd love to see Rob going off on something. That's always hilarious.
Oh God, yes. We'll see how that
because Joe the lawyer feeds himself. Joe the lawyer does it on purpose.
And then Joe walks off. Joe's over so Joe walks off to take a shit.
Yeah, and then he lets you guys deal with the feedback.
Yeah, he leaves us with the Rob bomb.
Oh yeah.
And the next week is ShireCon already. Holy crap.
Oh gosh, are we gonna have a live from ShireCon?
I don't know. I might be in a game. I gotta figure out how the timing is working on that one. We'll see.
And good old ShireCon. Yeah, Tom Wilson, ShireCon. We I'm about to say we should have Tom on, but we just had him on a couple weeks ago. So we had our Tom hit. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, ShireCon looks like it's gonna be a big day, or a big game weekend this year.
Should be a lot of fun, folks. So on that note, as always, be safe, be well, God bless, roll the dice, roll them well. Thank you for being a very lively group. And I kept up with you. I kept up. Look at that.
You did. That was great. We love seeing you guys. Yeah, we love it when I'm sitting there going, yep, there's that guy, there's that guy, there's that guy. I love all that. I love when you get to see you guys.
So thank you very much, folks. Good night. God bless.
Later.
And again, prayers for Ernie. All right?
Yes, please.
Laters.